Well guys, we made it to the end of the week and we realized we didn't film pretty much anything. And the reason for that is, well, this tree removal process kind of threw us off schedule a lot more than we realized it would. Taylor spent the majority of his week just chipping up this tree and chopping it up and relocating all of the pieces of it to their designated future locations.
What happened to it?
So, when I was trying to clean up the branches from the tree, it started making like kind of a weird ticking noise. So I turned it off and I moved it by hand and couldn't really figure out what was wrong. So I turned it back on and chipped a few more branches and I put a pretty big one in it. Completely exploded. The engine kept running fine, but it just broke the end of the crank shaft from the engine off, which is where the cutter wheel bolts. Yeah, so this is supposed to be a part of this. And this just bolts on, but this is what actually cuts the trees. So it spun around for a second, yeah, and it the metal just hit more of the metal, so it snapped one of the blades in half and broke a bunch of the bolts off. It put a big hole. The blade actually came out of the front cover. Luckily, it didn't go far.
Did you find it? I
did, yeah. It was a couple feet away under the cart that I had the wood chips in. So. But yeah, you can see how those got tore up.
Yeah. Pretty messed up.
We could replace the engine and put new blades on it and everything, but by the time we did that, we'd be spending as much as we paid for the wood chipper, so.
I thought it was more.
Well, yeah, if we wanted to actually, because it needs new wheels, these have been bad for a while, and if we wanted to actually replace the rest of the chute, the leaf chute that we never had, rebuilding it would cost more than we spent on it, so we'll probably just wait a few months and hopefully get a bigger one.
So we're without a wood chipper for a while.
Yeah.
She's a goner.
We have this local grocery store and it's a Salvage grocery store. If you've never been to one of those, it's basically just discount groceries that are about to expire, or most of the stuff isn't even about to expire. They just need to make more room on their shelves, so they get rid of stuff and bring it to these Salvage stores. I've been putting off getting corn because I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on it, but we wanted to can a bunch for the year. We went to the grocery store yesterday and they had corn, and the price that they had it at was 8 cobs for $1. So we got 60 of them and we paid $7 for 60 of them.
Probably the reason that these were there is because the outsides are really rough looking. They are probably not something that somebody at a normal grocery store would buy, but they're really big. They're not organic, but sometimes you have to choose between cost and quality, and they look beautiful on the inside.
I'm gonna go grab the rest of those because that was only half of them. Bring them outside and sit with Taylor while I shuck those. He's getting started working on the coop since we can't do any more mulching. I feel like I say, after we do this, then we get to finally work on the coop. Every single video, we never get to work on the coop, but it's actually happening today. It's a good feeling. These are really heavy. I'm gonna let this sit in here for like 10 minutes, and while I do that, I figured I would tell you everything I canned this week because that was my main project of the week. So let me flip you around. These are all wet because I just rinsed them off. But just to start, we have 1 quart of peach blueberry pie filling, and it's really just peach and blueberries with like a really light simple syrup. I will add the cornstarch to make an actual pie filling when we go to make pie. Next, I did a few more quarts of just peach slices in a light syrup. So I did a few quarts of that and some pints. We did a bunch of peach salsa, plain blueberries in light syrup again for pie, and add to Taylor's yogurt. And we can use the syrup to go in like lemonade and stuff like that. This is blueberries as well. And basically, other than that, I have like a decade's worth of peach hot sauce here. So I did a bunch of hot peach hot sauce. I know that sounds silly, but we did mild. Taylor said the M stands for Mickayla because I'm a little baby when it comes to spicy things, and this is kind of hot for me. But I wanted to make one that I could actually tolerate, so this was a little less spicy. And then these ones, hopefully as they sit, they get a little bit spicier over time. I ran out of peppers, so I might end up, when we crack these open, blending them with more peppers, but they're pretty spicy to me. Taylor says they're just about right though. I did some other like food preservation and food prep stuff all week. That's kind of just been what I've been working on. I am doing a Whole30 month right now. This is the first time I've ever done it. So like the food is priority to me currently. I'm trying to like focus on being in the kitchen and getting things done. I was really excited last night when I got all that stuff done, canned. It was like after midnight, and then we went and got all this corn. I was excited to have like a day out in the garden, but canning calls, and it's the season for it. So I'm looking forward to filling our shelves with all this corn though. I'm roughly halfway through them, and my goal was like about 30 pints. I did want to do some in quart jars, so I'm just going to do a full canner load in quart jars, so 7, the equivalent of 14 pints. And then so far that half did 5 actual pints as well. So we're at 19 already, and I think that was the smaller half, which is really cool. So I'm really hoping that we meet our goal, if not beat it. I need to come and rinse these guys off. They look such a weird color on camera. They're yellow, I promise. I don't know why they look like that. I'm going to come cut any weird parts off of these, like the tips and stuff, if they're like gross, and start sawing them off as well. Actually, real quick, we're gonna go dump out our cob bowl in the chicken run area, and they'll turn it into compost for us. Hey chickies. Got all sorts of little potatoes down here. Look at them. What are you doing? These guys love the compost pile over there. While I was inside canning all of that corn, Taylor was working on our chicken coop. When we initially put the frame together, we didn't install the permanent cross supports. You can see that diagonal board. He kind of just put those up in the meantime to stabilize it. But since it's on a hill, it was leaning a little bit, so he wanted to get the permanent ones installed. So he is actually using the giant pear tree in our garden to pull the whole structure towards, and he is securing it with the actual supports.
Hey babe, guess how many corns we got?
Like jars?
Yeah, like the small jars.
Man, I really wish I remembered.
Just make a guess. I'm falling down the hill.
Um,
The goal was 32. I looked it up in my notes.
41.
41, 37. But I did 6 earlier this year, so 43 total.
Right.
So you're close. You're a good guesser.
Making these cuts with the circular saw, like obviously these cuts are not hard, but then you don't get it all the way into the corner, and then I'd have to like try and cut the rest
Chisel
of it
it
out.
out.
With, honestly, I'd probably have to just use the Sawzall because it'd be a pain. So we'll just go get a cheap jigsaw, and it can be my construction jigsaw.
I can't say it. Jigsaw.
It'll be like that circular saw. It'll get thrown around and bent and probably break eventually, but
That's what they're meant to be used.
I won't care if I leave it outside.
The mulch pile was on this hill. They moved it so they can nap in it. Is that the one?
Yep.
Due to future different loads that we're going to be having on different parts of the coop, we have 6x6 posts in the back and 4x4 posts in the front, which means the plywood for our floor has to be cut a little wonky to accommodate that. And you're going to see that he's adding in some intermediate bracing and kind of widening the joists where they need to be, because the floor doesn't hit on those joists exactly. But we're making it work, and it's going to be super sturdy when we're done, and we're going to be able to get up in there if we need to, even though we're hoping to not have to get in there very often. But eventually we will have a deck off the back of this, because our nesting boxes are going to open from this back side, and you can see that there's quite a little drop right there, and it gets really muddy, and it's like a full puddle. And we figure, why not have a little deck that we can look at the garden, and that way we don't have to walk through muck to get our eggs every day. Sorry if this video is kind of weird. I'm only on my phone because Taylor has the camera outside. Anyways, I have all of the corn canned up. Let me show you. Set my tripod down. This made 37 pints, including the quarts. So it made 7 quarts, which is 14 pints, and then whatever the rest of the math is. That's a lot. It's more than we needed, which is awesome. I put this on the stove backwards every single freaking time. And I don't know if it's because the handle is like on the right and that makes sense to me, but then this thing's backwards. It's very frustrating. So I have to pick it up once it's all heavy and tip it around. Good to go. Now we just have to wait a long time. Another thing that we got at the Salvage grocery store was a bunch of blackberry blister packs for 50 cents each. I think we got 12 of them, and it ended up equaling to about 7 or so pint jars of them. Blackberries and raspberries are some of Taylor's favorite fruits, so he likes to have them in his yogurt a lot, and I figure I could try them this way, and if he doesn't like them in his yogurt, because they might be a little mushy, then we can always make them into a pie or something else later on, and we can use the syrup that's going in them for drinks. Since we canned a boatload of peach products this week, I had 20 pounds of peaches from Azure Standard that needed to get used, so I used it in all that stuff I showed you earlier in the video. I had a ton of the skins and scraps and pits that needed to get used up somehow, and my favorite way to do this is to make peach scrap syrup. So I needed to get that done before these went bad, and I ended up having to just compost them. Alright, let's talk about corn. So, I'm not all the way done canning it yet. I put it in the fridge overnight, and I'm just bringing it to room temp right now. I'll put it in the canner and heat it all up together. But I wanted to talk to you guys about the whole cost breakdown of that corn. Earlier in the summer, we got 20 ears of corn from the same Salvage store, and at that point they were a quarter each. They were for $4. So those were $5. That got us 6 cans of corn. Now this time around, I was not messing around. I was like, we are getting 60 ears. I wanted to try and get about 32 jars of corn just based on tracking grocery lists from the past few years, like how much we use in a year. Looks to be around 30. So my goal was 32. I was overshooting it a little bit. At roughly 2.5 ears of corn per jar, with already having 6, let's just get like 60. We ended up getting 61 ears. One of those I ended up having to toss because it was too gross on the inside. So all of that, the 61 ears that we got cost us $7. They gave us a little discount because they didn't want to do the math. So total, our 81 ears of corn for the year cost us $12. And after chopping it all up and getting it into the jars and everything, it ended up making the equivalent of 43 pints. So I exceeded my goal. That gives us the ability to make black bean and corn salsa at some point, which I didn't even think about that when I got them, but that's really cool. To have bought that amount at the store would have cost us about $70. This corn wasn't organic that we got, which is fine, but if I were to have bought it at the store, it would have been organic, because I just buy canned organic things when I can. I would have spent $70 on the corn canned over the year. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention is we had to buy most of our jars this year. So that was also an expense, and I was curious if even with the cost of the jars, we saved any money. And including the cost of the jars, if you're taking about $15 for a 12 pack of jars, which some of them are only $12 or $13 a package, I just went with 15 to, like, you know, give us the biggest range of like what it could have cost us the most. The $12 of corn plus all the jars that we used, it's $55 that we spent. That's a $15 savings roughly, but again, we now have 43 extra jars that I can use, and I don't have to purchase those again. So in consecutive years, we can invest in higher quality food because we're not gonna have to buy that many jars every year. Hopefully we'll just have to buy lids, and those are a lot cheaper than jars. I'm very, very happy about this, and I'm actually really happy I did the math. I wasn't sure if we were saving any money. I was hoping to at least break even this year, just because when you're getting set up with anything, like any project or homestead thing, it's gonna be a little bit of an investment, and this, you know, canning is something that I really enjoy doing, and as much as it hurts my feet to be in the kitchen for 12 hours straight every day, I thoroughly enjoy the process of it, and it like makes me so proud when I'm looking at that, like that whole shelving system of all of our canned goods. And I actually ran out of shelf space, so I need to get more shelves. That's a whole nother issue. Those things are expensive now. I just wanted to do this little cost breakdown and explain it to you to encourage you that if you are wanting to get into this, you might just have to look for some good deals and try and keep an eye out for things, take your time with stuff, invest in the jars and things like that, but it really can be worth it, and I'm really proud of myself. I posted in our community tab on YouTube that we wanted to do some sort of special video for our 1-year anniversary here on our homestead, which is so crazy to say. I'm so happy. We love living here so much. We wanted to document it and do something special, and a lot of you guys said you wanted to see like a recap video similar to our 6-month one. So we're gonna do a combination of mostly like the time-lapse video of like our big accomplishments here. We're gonna talk a little bit about some mistakes we've made with those projects, things we've learned, and we're gonna do like a really small section at the end of a Q&A. So if you have any questions for us, and please have questions for us, it's so like, I love hearing from you guys, and it's nice to have things to respond to. I'll probably post something on Instagram too to ask for questions, but I'll try and prioritize your guys' comments. If you want to ask it like anonymously and you don't want people to see what you're asking, you can always email me at Mickayla@CalicoCowAcres.com and ask me questions there, or you can put them on that post on the community page. It's been a while since I've done this, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I cannot wait to get back outside and start doing stuff. We are gonna go pick up some fall starts because we need to talk about the garden next week. We'll talk about that. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching again. Bye.